So we've not long left Bethany, and now he has stopped for a 10-minute coffee or tea break at the Levant Dead Sea little coffee shop area. So coffee shop, souvenirs, Dead Sea products, everything's discounted, silver and gold. The attendant is saying that they also sell Jordanian stone. So that's another one to add to the repertoire of things that you can purchase here while you're in Jordan. So at this stop, the tea and coffee is for free, but the 24-karat gold pots and plates and cups are not free. So after another short drive, we've just arrived at Nebo. I'm travelling on the JETT bus on a day trip, and we're going to 3 sites. We're going to Bethany, Mount Nebo and Madaba. So we've arrived at the Mount Nebo site. This is a Franciscan site, so you just have to pay 5 JD to get in. We've been allocated 1 hour. I'll just stick with my group and let's see how beautiful this site is. We paid 2 JD, we got a group price. It's normally 5 JDs for foreigners. And I'm scanning and it's not working. It's scanning and it didn't work. No, there it is. So Franciscan Priory. They've done a new coffee shop and stuff there. So we've been allocated 1 hour to visit this site. It is only a small site, so that's not going to be an issue. And from a mobility issue, if you've got a walker or a walking stick, it's nicely paved. So the site of Mount Nebo is the site where Moses came, saw the Holy Land and died. So he was walking in the wilderness for 40 years. And he was a very old man when he got here, 100-something years old. So as you're walking around this absolutely beautiful site, you have the Basilica there to the prophet Moses. And this is an Abu Bad, which is a stone that was rolled in front of a grave sites and stuff like that. Now there's lots of mosaics on this site, so it's absolutely beautiful. So you've walked onto the site and you were greeted with the serpent statue. And the significance of this serpent is the cross is for the crucifixion. The serpent is for Moses fighting with his staff, the snakes in the desert. And the central staff area, it represents Moses as well, where he struck the stone with the staff and water came out, and that was at Wadi Musa. So this site of Mount Nebo is actually very significant to all 3 monotheistic religions, Christianity, Judaism and Islam. Because basically the Old Testament, the Quran and the Torah are basically the recitations of the same stories. And into the haze, the sign is telling us that Hebron is over here. Hebron's over there. Dead Sea. Jericho is almost directly in front of us, and Lake Tigris is actually close to where we've just been, and we know Lake Tigris as the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus walked on water. So entering the Basilica, you pass the rose stained glass window, which is absolutely beautiful. The air conditioning in here is gorgeous, and the whole Basilica is designed around preserving the mosaics. So let's go and have a look at the mosaics. Now, the interesting thing that I would say about that stones in the middle, would be a cruciform, a baptismal font. So we were just wondering what this one represents, and up the top there the people seem to be spearing wild animals potentially, and these lower ones seem to be more domesticated animals with goats and sheep, and they've got an ostrich and zebra and camel on a leash. So I wonder what this one is to be interpreted as. Moving through the site past that baptismal font, and we're up to, in this area here, some stones that can be removed. I wonder what that could be. Let's go and have a look at the stained glass. Just having a closer look at the stained glass. Could be Moses with his arms raised. This one over here has a shaft of light coming down. That could be something like ascension. And this one over here, the ones with purple seem to have wings on, so that could be a death scene with the person with their hands crossed in the middle. From the stained glass, moving down to the centre here, they have preserved some of the past footprints of other basilicas that were here, other churches, other mosaics in place. And this is an active church, so sometimes there are services happening here. Near the front of the church on this nave, there seems to be an area with two like niches around a central circular area, which could be a baptismal font as well. The mosaics are just so spectacularly intact. And moving back down to the end of the current basilica, we come across another nave, another footprint of a different church. So I think there's 3-4 church footprints within this one space. And potentially those columns coming up were where the altar was. So just scanning the whole place. It's just wonderful. This rose stained glass is just beautiful. You can actually see it from inside because there are kind of slats on this inner wall, but just gorgeous. If you can look through the glass, through the whole basilica. It's just wonderful how they've preserved and integrated the old and the new to keep the life and activity. So once you finish walking through the basilica, so you've come around and you've seen the abudo and you've seen the sculpture and you've looked over to try and see the Holy Land, you exit the basilica and then there's some small dwellings, and then to the back of the site there is a small museum which is well worth a visit. A moment of peace with no visitors. Some people are coming now. There was a moment of peace in this beautiful site. Before we go to the bathroom, which is a really nice bathroom actually, there's a small museum on the site that tells the story about the land, and it has some dioramas of the basilicas that have been on this site. It also has some pottery and some coins. Some stones and more pottery. I think I've mentioned before how I absolutely love oil lamps. Very simple, everybody had one, touched by thousands of people. This little diorama gives you a scale about where we are standing. And the other thing I particularly like about this display is it gives you the story. Oh, this is that one we were just looking at before. It gives you the story. possibly in the second half of the 4th century. I'll just read this one so we know. Christian region of Madaba constructed a memorial church in honour of Moses. 530, the northern side was open. Oh, it's not telling us what it was, but it's called the mosaic floor of Dinacaean. Oh, I thought it was going to tell us what it was because it's really interesting. This one tells us about the Greek inscriptions, the Greek lettering. Oh, Al-Mahayek. That's one that I've been to before that Ali took me through to Madaba. That is superb. Beautiful mosaic floors. And so that is the visit to Mount Nebo.